Good morning. And welcome to the great west side of Chicago and the mighty 28th Ward here. Mayor said I couldn't complain this morning, so I'm still waiting on the elevator and I'm still waiting on breakfast, but I'm not complaining this morning. But again, it's great to be in the North Lawndale community. Many people don't know my family is actually from North Lawndale. And when Invest Southwest kicked off, I did come, but I did come kicking and screaming because of Garfield Park. But as I can tell, the communities that make up the 28th Ward, by and large, have been included, and the mayor's been very gracious and grateful in what we've been able to accomplish here at Ogden Commons. This little small square area in my community here encompasses a total of almost 15,000 jobs between the hospital, the movie industry. As you pulled up, you saw that they were doing some filming today. Lots of opportunities have been created here, and this particular building will be a part of the cornerstone of what is happening here in the North Lawndale community. I want to thank my colleague, Alderman Michael Scott, who I share North Lawndale with, as well as the other aldermen and part of the Invest Southwest program. So again, we're just glad that this project is moving forward and coming to fruition. And I want to thank Mount Sinai, the partners at CenterSpace, McHugh, and Boyd Construction for the work they've done to make the community part of this project. And we hope to continue with the additional housing development that will occur on this particular site going forward. We have some more exciting things to do in Invest Southwest. And again, I want to bring up my colleague to the south of me, Alderman Michael Scott.
Good morning. Again, I'm Alderman Michael Scott Jr., Alderman of the 24th Ward, and I am so happy to be here this morning. Alderman Irvin and I share North Lawndale. I have the bulk of it. And although we sit here in 28, this is a catalyst for the development that's going to happen in 24 all over in North Lawndale. I am a 45-year resident of North Lawndale. And I have been waiting since the day I was born for something like this to come about. I'd like to think it was all because they have a great, handsome, smart alderman in 24. However, I do know that the catalyst for the growth here in North Lawndale has been that Invest Southwest corridor. We have been focused like a laser on this corridor and how we invest in good jobs and invest in our community. It is I think a real token of this administration, or how you look at this administration, to talk about how many people have been involved in Invest Southwest and what is going to happen along the corridor of Ogden. We have North Lawndale Coordinating Council, we have Sinai, we have so many partners that have been a part of this roundtable that is going to bring development to their community, development they want to see, not development that is going to be handed to them. And I think that is the best part of Invest Southwest. It is growth from the community. And that is all because of our mayor, somebody who is focused on equity, somebody who is, from the time I got in office, I talked to her about investment in the west side of Chicago, and every time I've talked to her, she has delivered. And so I would like to bring to the podium my friend, our mayor of the city of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot.
Well, I am extraordinarily proud and excited to be here today. So good morning, everyone. We're here today because of every single person in this room, and we have a lot of people to thank, so let me get to it. I'm going to start with thanking West Side Alderman Jason Irvin, West Side Alderman Michael Scott, and I also want to thank our many community partners, including Craig Chico, Executive Director of the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council, as well as our many private and philanthropic partners here and who have really been with us on this journey and made this moment possible. I want to also thank Melvin Buckley, the owner and franchisee of a Steak and Shake, who's with us today. I also want to acknowledge and give special thanks to our Commissioner of Planning and Development, Maurice Cox. This is really, I think, exemplifies his vision for what equitable development will look like across our city. I want to acknowledge CHA CEO Tracy Scott, who's here, will be an important part of this work, as well as my Deputy Mayor for Economic and Neighborhood Development, Samir Mayakar. When I became mayor, I called upon our city to forge a new path with equity and inclusion as our guiding principles. And before my team and I even took our first step into City Hall, we started talking about ways to bring investment to the South and the West Side. Why? Because these neighborhoods that make up the Great West Side and the South Side had been neglected for way too long. And what we were interested in was transformative, visible change, not just transactional outcomes. And truly and fully unlocking the potential of our communities and our entire city by uplifting and honoring the talent of the residents and families that live right here in neighborhoods like North Lawndale. We knew we had a high mountain to climb, but we also knew this. Throwing a lot of money at something would not be enough. It wouldn't work. We also knew that having the city come down and, as Alderman Scott said, tell communities, we're doing this for you, and we're doing it this way, is absolutely the wrong way to do anything. In order for us, the collective us, to be successful, we need to start by listening to the very communities we wanted to work in partnership with to transform. We need to embrace the spirit behind the saying, nothing about me without me. And that meant working from the ground up and building on the plans that our community groups had already had in the works, sometimes for years, and building new plans that are developed in partnership with communities. But we also knew that in order to have the impact and create the transformation we all wanted to see, we couldn't do it alone. It had to be an all hands on deck call to action. We needed not just government or our community, but we also needed private sector and philanthropic partners to be on board, working together and moving in the same direction. And folks, that's exactly what we are doing. 5 months after our first day in office, and 1 year ago, we came to the West Side together to unveil this signature neighborhood development program that we now call Invest Southwest. Built on the basis of equity and inclusion, Invest Southwest was designed to marshal the power across our city by channeling hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in revitalizing the cores of 10 underinvested neighborhoods across our South and West Sides. And we chose 10 community areas because of their combination of roads and access to public transit, community leadership and commercial activity, public spaces, local amenities, and more. And we committed not only to marshaling our own city resources, but those from private and philanthropic resources to really catalyze these investments. And now 1 year later, this is how far we've come. Tangible proof that what we said we would do and much more. And we kicked off Invest Southwest last fall. And despite facing COVID-19, Invest Southwest has been the organizing force behind no less than 15 projects already completed or underway, accounting for over $70 million in public investment to date, and touching on everything from parks improvements to healthcare investments, transportation, infrastructure, community artist support, because yes, art has to be a part of the transformation as well. In a city as vibrant as we are, with a great cultural and artistic community, we wanted to make sure that artists also were in part of the transformation that was happening in neighborhoods. Now that's the public side investment so far, and more to come. But as I said, we knew we needed to start Invest Southwest, that capital had to flow into neighborhoods like these that are severely lacking in private investment. And so we set out to catalyze private investment on top of what we could do ourselves. And to date, private and philanthropic partners have committed more than $300 million of additional investment. So we put in 70, and we've now garnered so far $300 million additional dollars for this project. Whether in the form of small business loans, opportunity zones, or ground-up developments, with new projects coming down the pike, like partners like Northwestern Medicine, which aims to build a 75,000 square foot outpatient facility in Bronzeville on the south side, as well as this project, Ogden Commons, right here in North Lawndale, bringing housing, retail, healthcare, and film to the community. In fact, I'm standing here because behind me is a perfect view south on Ogden to the Invest Southwest corridor. And just behind me to the right is the Ogden Commons housing development. And we're standing here now where Sinai, our great partner on the west side, will build out offices and its new surgery center, which we proudly invested $7 million of CARES Act funding in earlier this year due to the health outcomes that it will create. Lastly, just below us on the ground floor are 2 restaurants under construction who are owned by Black entrepreneurs who are also recipients of our Neighborhood Opportunity Grant funds. And you will hear from one of them in a moment. This will be another critical anchor for what is still to come in this neighborhood. And just like the Invest Southwest program itself, the foundation has been laid. But as I said before, Invest Southwest's impact goes well beyond our own city investments. Our call for Chicago's private and philanthropic sectors to step up for their city by investing in our neighborhoods has been answered with initiatives like Together We Rise, an initiative really the brainchild of our folks at the city, but also the Chicago Community Trust. And again, I can't thank Helene Gale and her team enough. This Together We Rise fund started by raising philanthropic dollars to the tune of $25 million and has catalyzed over $600 million of corporate commitments between grants and loan commitments just to start. And the newly launched Pre-Development Grants Fund from the Chicago Community Trust, the Chicago Prize from the Pritzker Traubert Foundation, which continues to be a critical focus for the city, along with the efforts of the Corporate Coalition, which is working hard to create Catalytic Equity Fund, a key missing link for many community developments. The Entrepreneurs of Color Fund created by J.P. Morgan Chase, and the commitments of Starbucks, Fifth Third Bank, and BMO Harris. The Community Investment Corporation, and many more. All of these efforts are aligned with Invest Southwest. But it's not only about the financial commitments. Efforts like Invest Southwest also require the coordination and efforts of initiatives such as the Chicago Emerging Development Initiative and YIELD, which are leading the way to mentor and create opportunities for Black and Latinx developers. So that when we look at these neighborhoods years from now, we know the progress was made because of the efforts of neighborhood residents themselves who took control of their own destiny, and we supported those efforts. And none of this would have been possible without all of you, the people on the ground in our neighborhoods. Let me say again, having the city come down and tell you we're doing this for you and we're doing it this way is the wrong approach, and you know that. Part of the beauty of Invest Southwest is that we didn't start with a blank piece of paper. We went into neighborhoods and met with neighborhood stakeholders and asked you, what do you want to see from investment? How can we be your partner? And plugged into the energy from residents and families and small business owners already on the ground who want to see their community change and transform in the right ways that include them and their vision. Residents, families, and small business owners and community leaders sharing your needs and what they want to see happening in your communities. We could not be more excited about the organizations and individuals bringing even more local voices and representation to the monthly neighborhood roundtable infrastructure we have started to build since April. And I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Rodney Brown from the New Covenant CDC, who's here in the audience and who's our corridor manager here in North Lawndale. And we'll also hear from Craig Chico, who will be our corridor manager for Back of the Yards. This is just the beginning of something great and special happening in our city. We've laid the foundation, and as we move into our second year, we're going full steam ahead with new partnerships, more RFPs for development, new supports for minority developers, more alignment with our violence prevention plan, and new regional business centers for small business supports and opportunities, and visible infrastructure plans underway. We want our communities to see what we are doing and not just hear about it. Now, before I turn things over to Commissioner Cox, I want to add a few last words. To everyone who's listening in every corridor across the city, let me reaffirm, we are here as your partners in co-creating a brighter, more vibrant future that uplifts not just a single neighborhood, but in doing so, uplifts an entire city. We must be in this together. Nothing can stop us. As evidenced by the work that's happened here in Ogden Commons, we won't be stopped by a pandemic. We won't be stopped by economic and fiscal challenges, because we are more determined and united than ever to lean into our values and make sure that we continue forging a path for more inclusive development in every neighborhood in our city that has been deprived of development for way too long. I am honored to be a part of this incredibly transformative work. I thank all of you for your hard work and the work that's to come. It is really a great day in Chicago when we see the manifestations of our work, when we focus like a laser beam on spreading hope and opportunity to neighborhoods that haven't seen it for too long. We know how to do this. It's just a matter of us being intentional about bringing everybody in to the greatness of Chicago. Thank you very much, and it's my honor to welcome Commissioner Maurice Cox to the podium.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Mayor. I thank you first and foremost for having the foresight to understand that long before the pandemic appeared in our city, that it was going to be the resiliency and the long-term investment in the South Side and the West Side that would lead us here today. I think it was prophetic that we were ahead of this curve, and as a result, we can stand in real evidence of what that investment looks like. So thank you for that. And to the Alderman Scott and Alderman Irving, your partnership over the course of this year, your tenacity and your steadfast advocacy for your neighborhoods has brought us here today. And this is what it looks like when partnerships are forged. So thank you. Invest Southwest was launched. It was a very simple idea that we could bring equitable development to the South Side and the West Side of Chicago, and that we could grow our neighborhoods again, but grow them inclusively. And that we were going to show people in their front door what investment, what coordinated, comprehensive investment looks like. And so we're starting on 12 corridors, some of the most visible corridors in the South Side and the West Side. And we want to signal to everyone passing through that investment has arrived. Additionally, the idea of starting with partnerships with existing ideas, existing actions, and that the public could be that leveraging component that would make the investment happen. Again, we are seeing it here in Ogden Commons, and I'm incredibly proud of the partnership we forged with Mount Sinai. So the other part of this, which is really important to us, is how do you prepare a community that for so long has not seen investment to embrace divestment that can be driven by their own vision? And to do that in the middle of a pandemic, well, we had to pivot to a virtual format and conduct these roundtable conversations in every Invest Southwest neighborhood. And to date, we've conducted over 80 conversations with residents who are telling us what the shape and form of development in their neighborhoods should look like. We've done this by building an amazing team of neighborhood planners who are dedicated to those specific geographies. And through these roundtable conversations, communities are telling us where the opportunities lie, what are the assets that they would like to hold up and celebrate, and how we should focus that investment. So in Inglewood, there was an abandoned fire station, and they asked us to build Inglewood Square around that fire station. In Austin, Laramie Bank on Chicago Avenue, they held up that building, long since vacant, and said, build the Invest Southwest strategy around this incredible asset. So we've been following that community's lead, and even in Auburn Gresham, working with the Greater Auburn Gresham CDC that became the Chicago Prize winners, we decided to market the property directly across the street from their investment so that we can amplify and assure that they will succeed. That's how these partnerships are working across the city. And so understand this idea of the city fostering requests for proposals for private development, this is entirely new. This is practically radical for this city to introduce private investment to communities that we love and allow those communities to drive the vision of what that investment will look like. And you're going to see examples like this spring up over the course of the next year. We released those first 3 RPs. We're releasing 4 more by the end of the year. So Back of the Yards is already working on what that vision will be. Bronzeville is coming next. South Chicago is also poised. And I'm forgetting one. And Lawndale, because we are here. It feels like we're already doing it, and it's going to be an amazing transformation, not just of single buildings, but of the entire public realm. So the level of coordination, the mayor has started to speak to this. It wasn't just the public getting their house in order. We had to work with the private sector to prepare them. And as you see, the commercial real estate community of African American and Latino developers are organizing around this Chicago Emerging Minority Developer Initiative to feed the pipeline of community developers who can do this work. And then the philanthropic side, the idea of leveling the playing field. And so the Chicago Community Trust, creating a pre-development fund so that community developers can go after these RFPs and be partners in that development, critically important. And then our partnership with LIST Chicago, the corridor managers, the idea that the city would invest in those communities who will shepherd, who will be our eyes and ears and attract those investments in each one of the corridors. And we have an example of that here today. So New Covenant CDC here in North Lawndale, Chatham Business Association in Chatham, and the Quad Community Development Corporation in Bronzeville are just 3 of those corridor managers that will partner with us. And so I'll end by saying that everyone in this room is a part of this investment strategy. The work is really just starting. I feel that we've built over the course of this year an incredibly strong foundation. Now we're just asking everyone to stay the course and keep up this incredible work. And at this point, I'd like to introduce one of our local partners who's been instrumental in making a difference in New City, Craig Chico from Back of the Yards. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Craig Chico, and I'm from the Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council. We are fortunate to be one of those communities that is included in the Invest Southwest initiative. I was on Chicago Avenue about a year ago when the mayor made her aggressive and impactful announcement about what she was going to do to attack the disinvestment that had plagued communities like mine for years, if not decades. I think we all know how tremendously impactful after what we've heard from Commissioner Cox and others, this initiative can be and will be. But even in the best of circumstances, I think we have to all acknowledge this was going to be a heavy lift. It was going to be a huge lift, and it took courage and heart and an equitable soul like that of the mayor's to impact her will upon not just some of the doubters, but all of us to believe that this was possible. The events of this past year have been challenging. The challenges have yet to unfold completely. We don't know what the end of this year will look like, the end of these next couple of years, but I do know in this past year, I've had a front row seat to witness what has taken place. The resources that we spoke of and briefly have been made available to these communities in the form of TIF and in the form of tax credits and in the heavy, challenging form of philanthropy, which the mayor's been so good about. We're very fortunate. I've been part of the roundtable. I am the corridor. Our organization is the corridor manager. Commissioner Cox has put together a tremendous team of professional planners and other talented folks that are going to help guide and drive this process. I have also seen us talk about and deliberate and debate potential sites for these RFPs where they'll be developed and what that means to community. But the community has been participating in that conversation, and that's why I use the word debate. It's intentional and it's thoughtful, and it has to be if it's going to be inclusive. So I'm honored that we're standing here a year later and I'm seeing the actual fruition and the results of what has been talked about a year ago. We've done this all in a year of a pandemic. We've heard it mentioned several times. And as we take on one of the most important battles in our history of the country and of the city, as we try to fight this battle of racial inequity. This has all happened. And I believe that the mayor deserves a lot of credit, as does her team. And I believe the mayor's determination is rooted in her belief that Chicago's best days are still ahead of us. And I believe, and I bought into, and I know, and I live every day, that that cannot happen and will not happen without every community's involvement and every community's engagement. So thank you, Mayor, for that. I'm very much looking forward to this next year and years to come when we can put together all the plans and all the drawings and all the capital and all the thoughts that have taken place and been created in this collaborative environment so that we see more shovels in the ground and we see more buildings like this across every neighborhood in the city of Chicago, but even more importantly, we start to see local wealth develop like we're seeing right here where we're standing. So I also want to say thank you to the mayor for her tremendous leadership and the extreme will that it's taken to get us to this point today. But I also want to acknowledge Deputy Mayor Samir Mayakar and Commissioner Cox. I know we haven't been easy as community groups and as residents. It's a new process. There's always challenges to something this new, but you guys have had an open ear, and Mayor, they've listened to us, and this is why I think we're going to succeed. I know we're going to succeed. But once again, I want to thank you for making the city successful, neighborhood by neighborhood. And now, it gives me even greater pleasure to introduce someone who's living embodiment of what this result is going to look like. One of my favorite restaurants, Steak and Shake. This is the proprietor and the owner who will be on the ground floor. I'd like to introduce Mr. Melvin Buckley. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be here. When I look at the collaboration between the City of Chicago, Mount Sinai, and the Habitat of Humanity, it is an incredible feat, and everyone's to be commended for it. I'm 58 years old, and to see a program that's all-inclusive, this has got to be one of the first. So to be on the receiving end and being able to bring a brand like Steak and Shake here to the West Side is truly a blessing. I've come a long way. I've been with McDonald's for 17 years as an operator, and about 3 years ago I transitioned to Steak and Shake, and many say, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One, it gave me a little more leverage to provide jobs in the communities that I think needed it. This kind of program that assists us from a grant perspective goes one step further. There are more things in our community that we need, and one of those things is training. So when you are awarded grants and things of that nature to open, particularly during a pandemic, it just allows you to pull back do training so that the patrons of this community, when they come to these stores, they're pleased at what they see. And so it's exciting for me because that's a part of the dream that has been very difficult to do when you're trying to run a business and you've got to put everything you've got in it to get it open. Oddly enough, we just opened a second store in Frankfurt, which had closed. And the charter for Steak and Shake is for me to develop stores in the city of Chicago, and I'm excited about that. 1322 South Halsted was our first store a couple of years ago, and I had the pleasure of actually being the contractor because we do have a small construction company. Used to be a Jamba Juice. We gutted and put it back together, and the city has really embraced it very well. It is our hope to build a number of stores throughout the city of Chicago. So these kinds of programs are amazing. I gotta say that leadership is probably one of the most difficult things to do. And Mayor, I have seen you go through some difficult challenges, but I gotta tell you, you've done it with grace. And so I'm proud to say you're my mayor. So thank you very much. We're excited about the growth. We're excited about this program, and we're excited about getting the Steak and Shake open downstairs. Thank you.
And now happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. First set of questions from Alexis McAdams at ABC7. Her questions are, why are the COVID rates spiking, and how are hospitals holding up, and where there'll be more non-essential business closures?
Well, it's not an easy answer to talk about why COVID rates are spiking. Unfortunately, we're seeing it all across the country, and obviously COVID-19 doesn't have any geographic boundaries. We're surrounded by a number of states that have not imposed the kind of restrictions that Illinois has, Wisconsin being one, and Indiana has essentially abandoned all restrictions, and not surprisingly, we're seeing COVID cases go up. One of the biggest challenges, I think, as the weather gets cold, and I note that it's now snowing outside, one of the biggest challenges I think that we face is once we go indoors, people feel safe in their homes, and we cannot afford to let down our guard. As Public Health Commissioner Dr. Arty has been saying, we have to be even more diligent. And I certainly understand people feeling a sense of COVID fatigue, but now is not the time to let up. We've got to be even more diligent. We put restrictions in place just last week. We're going to be watching the numbers quite closely. We've seen some uptick in non-ICU hospitalizations that have us definitely concerned, but that's a lagging indicator, and our concern is that while we're seeing hospitalizations go up, that it could lead to ICU cases going up, and then unfortunately more sickness and death. So that's why we sounded the alarm last week, and we're going to continue to look for other interventions that we can use to really slow the spread of this virus. But the rate that we're seeing now is we're seeing it all over the country, unfortunately, and that's why we've got to just lean into what we know helps. Mask wearing, social distancing, and really limiting the size and the number of people that you are in contact with on a daily basis.
We actually only have one more question, and it's coming from both Kelly Bauer at Block Club and Greg Pratt. Mayor, you campaigned against aggressive fines and fees, and during the election said most red light cameras are about revenue, not public safety. How do you justify expanding the range of speed camera fines that some say disproportionately hurt Black and brown communities? Well,
the number that we have now looked to impose fines at, which is 6 miles over the speed limit, was something that was voted on by the City Council some years ago. But the bottom line is what we've seen, unfortunately, over the course of this year is a number of speed-related accidents and deaths go up exponentially. And we can't ignore that reality. And the hope is that by being more aggressive in citing people for speeding around schools, around parks, that we're going to actually lower the amount of traffic-related accidents and fatalities. And this is about making sure that we keep communities safe. It's clearly a public safety issue. The data, I think, really underscores that point. And unlike fines for non-moving violations that did fall disproportionately on black and brown Chicagoans and drove people into bankruptcy. People have control over whether or not they speed or not. The signs are very well marked, and it's my hope that people will take this as an opportunity to check their speed, because we can't afford to have more people injured and more lives lost.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.